Lafayette's Best Country 95.7. It's B. Adams back once again for another Y95 Live. And joining me in studio is my good friend. Ain't seen him in a few years. We stay in touch on social media, but Mikey Goode is here.
Hello.
My man, you're one of the, so I got this long list of people that I bring in, and there's a lot of people on there that's never came into the studio with me, and there's a big chunk of them that have. So it's always nice to bring the ones back that I've worked with in the past.
Well, it's not hard to come back when you call, buddy.
That's right.
You've been good to me from the start, so it's always good to come back and hang out and chat and
Yeah.
see Lafayette. This is cool. When last time I saw you was down in Franklin, so
Yeah.
you owe me gas money this time.
Well, hopefully we can make up for it. If people like what they hear, maybe they'll come out to the shows and
Oh yeah, that's
throw a
that'd
little
be great.
tip money in there.
I got a bucket just for them.
Well, Mikey Goode, let's go ahead, because this is, I don't want to say a whole new audience for you, because you probably have some fans up here, but you don't come up this way a whole lot. So let's just get to know you a little bit. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from.
I'm just a redneck from central Indiana that loves to play my guitar and play in front of people and make a fool out of myself, and hopefully they make a fool out of themselves and have a good time with me. Otherwise, it gets boring up there. Nah, man, I play country. When I met you, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was writing. I knew that. I was writing for myself. I had just done an album. I was playing shows local. I started to pick up shows nationwide, which is really weird because it's hard to look back on this and go, oh my God, that's what I did for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We'd load up in a truck with an RV behind us, take the whole family and just travel somewhere. And I'd make phone calls along the way and be like, hey, I play music. You need some place to pour beer into, because I'm the guy.
Just that easy, huh?
Yeah, honestly, when you go out of town, it depends on where you go. A lot of people are just hungry for really good music.
Yeah.
And it started in Texas. I started playing down there. Had no idea what I was doing, dude. Had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I show up at this open mic, and I was the only guy that showed up at the open mic at this little vodka distillery in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And they're like, I got to play for an entire hour.
Yeah.
That's all the material I had.
Right.
No originals, only 1 hour of, I played everything I had, me like $30 in tips. I didn't know I was getting paid for this. And the manager says, hey, could you maybe come back sometime and play a full show? We'll pay you. I'm like, real money, not just tip money? And I didn't realize you could really get paid for that. I'm like, sure, I'll come back. And I told him when I was going to be coming through, and he booked me 3 weeks in a row.
Wow.
So for that month I was out before I came back, I was learning anything and everything I possibly could. And it caught a bug inside of me. It started back here at home.
Yeah.
And then when I got to play shows out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could really do this.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, it turned into, I went from Florida all the way to Texas, all the way to California, played coast to coast. That's the coolest thing to tell people. I got to play shows coast to coast. I booked tours and played solo, played everywhere, and just had a blast. And we kind of got tired of the traveling thing, because I don't know if you know this or not, but like I just coming up here on 65, there was a wreck. And when you're traveling a lot, you see a lot of those, and sometimes you get in them, and we didn't want that anymore.
Yeah.
So we moved back home. We plant at a garden, and I play local. And I write for Nashville. So that's the cool thing is where you saw me last was I was playing shows.
Yeah.
Now where you see me is I'm playing shows local. I try to stay local as possible, traveling out. I've done it. I like playing local, and I cultivate that center audience, that core audience. And I've got some great fans that I could just name out by name.
Yeah.
And but then the other side of that is I'm like, I really enjoy writing. I enjoy when somebody tells me a story and I can go, hang on, I think I could put that to music.
Yeah.
You know, or you come up with something on the fly, or you partner with these other amazing people that are successful songwriters, and you come up with something out of the thin air and come out with a love song or a banger, something that just makes you want to stomp your feet. And when you create that with somebody else, that's a bigger addiction to me than getting an applause from a stage. Well, Tips are great.
Well, I was telling Sean, our videographer over here, before you arrived, I was like, he can play the guitar, he can sing, but like he's a good songwriter. Like
thank you.
I think that's I don't want to say your strong suit, because you also have a strong voice and everything else, but there's something about storytelling in country music, and you are a fantastic storyteller.
I think it's something that we kind of get away from a little bit. I grew up on Vince Gill, and that man could tell a story with such an angelic voice. Willie Nelson told stories through his music. Garth could tell a story through his music.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's gone. I think stories are being told different, but also from working with people in Nashville and talking to some of these publishers that I form a relationship with, they say, what we really are itching for is if we could take the 90s country and kind of reform it so that it's palatable for today's audience, younger listeners who they could handle the classic storylines and everything, but they do it with, a little more updated beats and rhythms and melodies and things like that. And that's fun, to where people come to you now and say, I still want somebody to tell me a story.
Yeah.
Instead of just some beats and some snaps to make you feel good going through the day, which those songs are great. Everybody, Chuck Cannon, who is a great songwriter who wrote a lot of songs for Toby Keith, he was talking about, some of the music that's out there right now that's really poppy. There's not really substance to it per se.
Yep.
But instead of ragging on it, he's like, you know what, man? I like some ice cream. I love ice cream. Am I going to eat ice cream all the time? Every once in a while, I just want a bowl of ice cream, and I don't want to worry about the Brussels sprouts and everything else. Just give me something sweet to chew on for a minute. Those are great, and I love those songs. But when you can turn around and tell a story, if you made it up or if you took it from somebody's actual point of view, but then you turn that story and you pour it into somebody else, and you see them get it, and either make them cry, make them laugh, make them cheer and scream and holler, make them mad. When you can control somebody's emotions from a story you tell. Now I know what Stephen King feels like. You know what I mean? I ain't got quite the money that boy's got, but I totally get where he's coming from.
Well, you mentioned, like the 90s country and the storytelling. 90s country is definitely kind of making a comeback right now. Zach Top is a perfect example.
Yes.
I mean, that boy sounds like, a lot of people are comparing him to Tracy Lawrence. And I think he's doing a great job of what you were just talking about. So Zach Top is one I'm a big fan of right now. But you're such a good songwriter. And when I first met you, I think you were still working a full-time job, kind of deciding if you wanted to.
I had just quit. I was working for the railroad for a long time. I quit that, and I worked with my wife. My wife's got an amazing business, and this is where you can edit this out later if you want to, but a shameless plug for recipesthatcrock.com. Because that's what pays our bills.
Yeah.
On top of the music and everything else. But when my dad died, I wrote him a song, and I play that.
And I love that song.
One More Beer with Dad.
I love it.
I hate playing that song now just because it's a sad song, but it moved a lot of people, and I can still play that song today. 6 years later after my dad passed away, and I can sing that song in any venue at any point in time, and someone will come up to me. I've never had a show, I've never had a performance where somebody doesn't come up to me afterwards and be like, my dad just passed away. Or, I'm sorry you had to be in my club. Or I've even had folks be like, I still have my dad, but man, this just moved me to go spend some more time with him.
Yeah.
And I urge him to.
Well, that's the beauty of music. And this has been an ongoing theme since we've been doing Y95 Live. We've mentioned it, I think, with almost every guest. Music heals.
It does.
I think, and that's every genre, but country does such a good job of channeling like real emotions.
Yeah.
That's the kind of music that people relate to.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're also out living and doing these things. So you do a really good job of that. We're talking with Mikey Goode here on Y95 Live, and we're going to hear him sing here coming up in just a few minutes. Can you do that for us?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we're going to hear one from Mikey Goode coming up in just a couple of minutes. It's Y95 Live. Back on Y95 Live, hanging out with my good buddy Mike Goode. I just love the play of words on your name.
It's actually pronounced Goode.
Well, I've always said good.
I know, you and everybody else in this world, and I love it because, when somebody says Goode, it just doesn't feel as right anymore. My wife even, everything we do, no, it's good. Everybody just calls us good.
So I've known you now for probably 6+ years, and I've always said your last name wrong?
You've said it just like everybody else in my family, so it's totally cool. It's totally cool.
Well, I'm just going to keep saying it wrong then if you're cool with that. It's Mikey Goode. Let's hear it. Mikey Goode, Goodbye Whiskey
Here we go.
on Y95 Live.
I'm thanking God every day for the night that she chose to tell me to go straight to hell. She'd had more than she could take. She said that she loved me still, swore that she always will, but it was my choice to make. Then she cried on my shoulder and kissed me. It told me she missed me. That was the night that I said goodbye to the whiskey. Yeah, that was the night that I said goodbye to the whiskey.
Goodbye Whiskey by Michael Goode. I even said Michael that time.
Am I in trouble? That's what people call me when I'm in trouble.
That's why I like having people in here that I'm friends with. I can kind of jab at them a little bit.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
That's a beautiful song, man. I love it, and the guitar with it it really just ties it all together. That's a perfect. I'm not a musician. I don't know what you call it, but the music with the voice and then the words, that just all blended together perfect. It sounds great.
If I could ever stool and do it, I've got it recorded, I've got it mastered, and I've got a beautiful, beautiful voice. Her name's Lenny Martinez, and she's a singer that me and my producer both use constantly. And I'm really proud of that song. I just need to find the time to do the artwork on it, and then I'll release it out. But
well, you definitely need to.
I've got some fans that of all the songs that I do, that one is one of the more heavily requested ones. I've got a Uber fan back home. Her name's Stephanie. Stephanie, if you're listening, I love you. And she always asks for that song. She's like, that is my favorite song. I think she got the honesty of it, but I love it. If that's what they want to hear, I'm more than happy singing a non-drinking song at a drinking show.
Well, if people like what they heard, which I don't know how they wouldn't, where can people find, you said that song's not completely released yet, but some of your other music, where can they find it?
Anywhere that's digital, I've got it out there on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, you name it. Just look for my name, Mikeygoode, Mikey Goode. You can find me on there. Redneck Rockstar was the last album that we put out, and from there you can jump down the rabbit hole and see the other things.
And where can people find you on social media?
Same thing. It's all under Mikey Goode Music, Facebook, even on the TikToks. Anywhere you want to see me, I'm somewhere. About the only place I'm not anymore is what's the one used to be Twitter, X or whatever. Yeah, I don't get on that one much, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere like that.
All right, go find him. Give him a follow if you like what you heard. And we're going to be back to chat a little bit more with him, and then he's going to wrap things up with one more song. So stick around. It's Y95 Live. Back on Y95 Live once again. It's B. Adams on Lafayette's Best Country 95.7, hanging out with my buddy Mikey Goode. And if you're just tuning in, you've already missed some great music and getting to know him a little bit. But good news, he's hanging out a little bit longer here. So we just heard Goodbye Whiskey,
yes, sir,
which was a fantastic song.
Thank you.
We're going to hear another song coming up here in a few minutes. Let's talk about some of your shows coming up, because I'm on your Facebook page here. You do a really good job of promoting yourself and your shows, and you always make these fun graphics. Sometimes they're like professional and sometimes they're funny. And I like them both, but the funny ones really get me.
I'd rather do the funny and the professional. My wife trained me well on how to do professional photographs, and it's like, yeah, but that's none of my personality.
Well, so this week, starting tonight, you'll be at Pittsburgh Golf Course. That's a full band show at 8 o'clock. And the good thing about that show is it's not that far from here. So from here, it's maybe a little under an hour, but our signal reaches pretty far south. So a lot of people listening right now, that might only be 15, 20, 30 minutes away. So I encourage people to get out to that show at Pittsburgh Golf Course. How do they just show up? Do they have to get tickets?
There's no tickets. There's no cover, anything like that. Pittsburgh Golf Course is one of my favorite places to play. They were one of the first folks that ever booked me. Yeah. And I grew up just not too far from there. I actually lived in North Salem, which is part of the same school district. So we all went to the same high school at Tri-West. Go Bruins, by the way. And so my friends, when they took over the golf course and really, really built a new clubhouse, they hit me up and were like, hey, we'd love to have some music. And for them, I'd go play out there at any time. And no, as far as I'm concerned, anytime you come to a Mikey Goode show, you're probably not going to have to do tickets. I don't want to do tickets. I'd rather you just put that money in my bucket, because we got this bucket that we use, whether it's solo or absolutely when it's full band. We want to see that bucket get full, because I want to see my band get paid, of course. And then if it's just for me and I see that bucket get full, one, I think I did a good job, and two, I'm going to have a good weekend after that, because that's some good money.
Yeah, and we're also going to talk about those tips coming up here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think we are.
So we'll tease that a little bit. You may or may not have a fun song coming up here in a few minutes. I also love your logo. I remember when you were like designing logos, and you were kind of like, I think you put out like suggestions, like this one or this one. And it's so cool, because it's like the top half of a guitar, and then the bottom half of the guitar is Mikey Goode music. Did I say it right?
You did.
Yeah.
You did. All right. In design, and that's how it's spelled. In design, that's how it's pronounced in design. My wife, she does a great job of doing my designs for me. She's a genius.
And I remember when you mentioned that, I remembered you talking about her, and it's like cookbooks and like cooking, right?
Yeah, she's got a slow cooker website that does extremely well. I know this because you see how I am now. Before she started her business and experiment with the recipes, I weighed about $175. And then she's like, I need somebody to taste these recipes. Here I am, just right under 300 going, I'm happy. I'm happy because she feeds me well.
He is well fed.
She makes me pretty things. It's a good relationship.
And you've played a lot of shows with, we have a lot of mutual friends, but even some of our past Y95 Live guests, I think you've played with John Ryan.
John Ryan is one of the coolest people.
I love John.
I met him last year at a show, at one of my shows actually, because we were double booked. He was
I
booked
remember
the same
that.
time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know him. I had no idea who he was. He shows up while me and another guy are just done mic checking and everything, getting ready to play in like 15 minutes. He's like, "Are you guys the early shift?" I'm like, "There is no early shift." What are you talking about? He goes, "Well, they hired me to come play tonight." I'm like, "Dude, this isn't between me and you. This is with the management and us. Let's go talk about it." And they said, "Well, since he's set up, we're going to let Mike play." They paid him for his time. So great venue for doing that. I really appreciate that for them. And we sent him on his way. He went home. And I went back that night, and I'm like, "Who is this guy who showed up?" And I looked up John Ryan, and I heard his voice.
His voice is amazing.
That man is a baritone from
so
heaven.
Good.
And I felt so bad. I'm like, if I'd have known, because I won't play with. Usually, I don't play with folks, and I won't set up shows unless I vetted the other artists. Because you kind of want to make sure.
It makes
You're on the
sense.
same plane.
Yeah.
I don't want to go book a show with Vince Gill because I know he's going to just trash me with his guitar playing. Same thing. If he's going to be so much better, and I've seen John play, and he's fantastic.
He's so good, and he's a good guy.
If I'd have known, I would have paid him to stay. And I told him, like, "Dude, if I can make it up to you, and I know it's not my fault, but if it's a possibility that I could play a show with you sometime, I'd love to." And it came around. I got the schedule back. Same venue, like, "Hey, set us up with a couple song swaps." He was the first guy I called, and I was very, very excited to do so.
And you guys are very similar in that aspect. You know, in such a cutthroat industry where you're all trying to reach a certain point or be this or be that, you know, it can be very easy to be jealous or hate on another artist, especially if you feel like you're better than them. And that just speaks volumes about like who you guys are. And it's really cool to see because, you know, like I said, for us as fans, it makes it easier to support you guys because you support each other, you support local, and you're kind of all on the same mission together.
Well, I tell you, when it comes to especially the local music scene, if we don't work together, and this is why I love our local music scene, because there's a lot of cutthroat, and I've seen it. I've seen it local, I've seen it national. I don't care, because you find those people that you can work with that have the same values as you when it comes to the music. And John's one of those. And I could name you 1,000 of Indianis. If you know anything about the Indianis, they're the same way. They will support me, even if I don't work for them for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They reach out to help me. I've gotten gigs from them. I've thrown gigs their way. I want to do the same for John. I want to do those for other artists, because if we can work together as a community of artists, then the venues have to do the same. They have to work with us, you know, or else we find out, hey, this venue's not paying, or that we're having a problem with the venue. Then I can reach out to John and say, "Hey, man, they had a problem paying me."
Yeah.
Or he could tell me. If we work together in that, it's not just about survival. It's about wanting to be good and having a good time and having a great life with it. I want those people. And John is top of the line when it comes to that.
Absolutely love it. That's why I love doing Y95 Live, because people get to discover not only you, but, you know, the past guest and the future guest. And it's a fun, tight-knit community. So we're going to hear more from Mikey Goode coming up here. I'm switching it up now. The first half I said your name wrong. I'm just going to keep saying it right now.
It's okay. It's all right.
We're going to hear more from Mikey Goode coming up here in just a couple of minutes. He's going to sing one more for us, and I think it's going to be a fun one. Stick around right here on Y95 Live. Back on Y95 Live for one final segment, hanging out with my good friend, Michael Goode. And I'm excited to hear this next one. I've heard it before. A lot of you might not have. It's a fun one. What's this one called?
Well, this one's pretty simple. It's called, and I want to make sure I enunciate this properly because this is on the air and they can't see my lips. The song is called Tips. T-I-P as in Paul S. Okay. And I wrote this song down in Texas after playing with a good buddy of mine named Drew Moreland. It was one of my first shows in Texas, and he welcomes the crowd, and he says, "Hey, I'm Drew. This is my buddy Mike. We're going to play a song swap for you. We got free whiskey out of it, and we got paid. They just got to listen to some good music." And he says, "We are professional musicians. If you have any requests, you bring them right up the stage, and we'll play them. But we're also hard of hearing with these speakers, so the closer you get to that tip bucket, that's usually where we hear you." And I just thought that was the coolest line. And it worked. We got paid. We got tipped that day.
Nice.
And I thought, man, I got to write a song about that. And I did. I wrote this song, and my wife hates this song. And I played this song everywhere. People loved it. I actually recorded it, put it on the album, and we're back in Texas. And I was doing an artist spotlight one night, and it was a half hour. They're going to pay me just a little bit of money to play for a half an hour. And it was to drum up an audience for a show that I had at that same bar in a couple days. And so I go there and I play, and this song that I'm getting ready to play for you was the last song I played. Well, there was a waitress there who, evidently, she's hard of hearing.
Oh, boy.
And I get in the middle of this song, and she, I'm guessing, misunderstood me. And I saw things that, you know, musicians will I mean, if you go to a Motley Crue show, you might see something like this, right? Well, it took me 20 minutes to get from camp to this bar I had to play. It took me 2 hours to get from the bar back to camp because I tell my wife everything. You know, we've got this. There's nothing she doesn't know about me. I'm like, how am I going to tell her this story without dying? And I get back, and I was real nervous. You know, when I'm loading the stuff in, she's like, you're gonna have to tell me what happened because you don't have the same attitude you did when you left. And I was like, well, you know that one song I do, that one song you don't like. She goes, you mean the tip song? I said, yeah. What happened? I said, well, I played it tonight, and the bartender, very young, very beautiful, very blessed in life, and she misunderstood me, and she showed me something different, and she put her hands on her hips. She says, and she called me Michael Goode. That's when I'm in trouble when they call me that. She says, Michael Goode, you're never going to play that song again.
All right, well, let's hear it. One final song from Mikey Goode, my good buddy. Can't wait to hear this one. It's called Tips on Y95 Live.
Y'all make sure you pay attention to where's this song now. I like to make my living by beating this old guitar and playing my songs all night long in any old honky-tonk bar. Well, some joints pay me money and some nights I'll play for free, but I got me a bucket, and with any luck it's gonna be a good night for me. But only if you show me your tips, any money will do. A 1 or a 5 just to keep the dreams alive, and I'll play another song for you, yeah. Now listen, one night I was picking my guitar when in walked this Southern belle. She was looking pretty mean in them tight-fitting jeans and a top she filled out well. Well, she strolled right up to my stage and she offered me a wink. She said, I'd like to get to know you, maybe after the show you could buy me a drink. And I said, I'm sorry, honey, but this cowboy's taken. But maybe you could still show me your tips. Any money will do. A 10 or a 20 would do the job, honey, and I'll sing a song just for you. Oh,
yeah.
My Lord. Well, there was this old woman, better part of 80 years or more, and she misread my jug when she was cutting a rug out on that dance floor. And nobody was quick enough to stop her, and you should have seen my face when she raised up her sweater. That old lady let herself loose all over the place.
Yeah!
And I said, oh my God, Mima, you can't be doing this. Besides, the sign says, show me your tips. That's how I make my pay. Well, there ought to be a law against that, Grandma. Now roll them up and put them away. Show me your tips. Any money will do. A 1 or a 5 or a 10 or a 20, I don't care. Just please keep your shirt on, honey. I'll play another song for you, yeah. Show me your tips.
Yeah! Pay the man!
Boy, I hope you don't get fired for that one.
Well, if I do. Well, it was a good run.
I'll share the bucket with you on Friday night.
I was going to say I might have to share the stage with you. If I get fired, you're going to have to split those tips. Tips.
TIP is in Paul S.
That is Mikey Goode with such a good song. I told you we were saving the last one was going to be a fun one, and people can find that song wherever.
Yes, sir, on Spotify. Anywhere digital, look for TIPS, and you'll find me.
I have a feeling we're going to be getting some people messaging in like, what was that song? What was just playing? Love it. That's so fun. Again, go see Mikey tonight, the Pittsburgh Golf Course.
Yes, sir.
What time do you start?
We start at 8 o'clock.
Full band?
Full band.
And will there be a tip jar?
There will be a bucket. There will be a bar. There will be no reason why y'all can't drink and pay me for it.
All right, there you go. Go see him tonight. Full band. And one more time before you go, shout out your social medias.
Anywhere on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere like that, just look for Mikey Goode Music and you'll find me. Just look for some ugly dude in a beard holding a guitar. It's probably going to be me.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, man. You made a long drive up today.
It was totally worth it, brother.
And we had a lot of fun, and hopefully we made some new fans along the way.
I hope so. Thank you.
We'll see you in Pittsburgh tonight.
All right.